This is Jonathan Agger of Fifth Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Gareth A Davis. Gareth, it's Monday morning. How's your weekend?
It's been very good, Jonathan Negioff. Is that correct?
The first time was, I think,
Negioff.
Nagyov, yeah.
Let's delve into the origins here of it. It looks like an Nagyovsky.
I think it was like some kind of Russian origin.
Yeah, but there you
Yeah.
go, Nagyovsky, Russian Jew.
But yes, yes.
Not trying to stereotype you here, but you are a huge boxing fan and always have been. What's the origins of your boxing fandom?
Probably Ricky Hatton Mayweather, I think was the first one. Yeah. Always wanted to cover a fight in Vegas, so lucky to have done a few.
What's your highlight so far?
Wow. Um, Fury Wilder 2 was a very good
Was amazing.
week. That was actually my first Vegas one. Uh, so many, so many. What about you?
Hardest boxer to interview so far
Hardest boxer to interview. You're gonna get me in trouble, but um, that is a tough one. But Turbiev was quite difficult.
Yeah,
He
he
was,
doesn't look like he's enjoying his tour that much,
yeah,
but you can't tell with his by his face. He's
yeah.
obviously on tour in the UK, and I spoke to Boxing King Media, who's doing a load of them, and you can't tell with Arthur. I saw Roy Jones Jr. giving him a little lecture on how to beat Bivol the second time. Did you see that?
I haven't seen that yet. No.
And Arthur's just going,
Yeah. No, but I just think he just wants to fight like a lot of these boxers.
he doesn't give a lot away, is what it is.
Yeah.
So, who's the biggest super clown? Ariel Helwani, Nikisa Bidarian, or Gareth A Davis?
Well, let's go straight into that then, right? So I'm in,
Judging by the poll, it's me.
I'm
But
in,
you know,
I'm in Doha last week, right? And have a look on YouTube, and I see you in the thumbnail watching immediately. First of all, I think it was in response to the video we did, where I don't think you picked Jake to beat him, but you said,
no, I did. Officially, I picked Jake to win on points for
did
William Hill. I
officially.
did. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, fine. So
yeah.
Carl clearly didn't like that. So, first of all, what was your reaction? Were you sent the video? Did you see it come up? Like, were you surprised?
No, I got a load of abuse on social media. People saying, "Look at that super clown. Carl's called you out." Carl's a super troll. He's brilliant at it. I've known Carl a very long time. We've been friends a long time. We've been colleagues in the sport a long time. I like what he does with Froch on fighting. He's very much appeals to all the people over there on that side of that pendulum. I won't say spectrum because people will misinterpret that, but they're over here. It's the abolitionists, it's the purists, it's the those that don't believe there should be misfits boxing. And yet, what's Carl really doing? He's looking for a fight with Jake Paul, isn't he? He's looking to earn 10 million. He's the ultimate super troll hypocrite. But I love it. And that's all I'm pointing out. And when I first saw it, I mean, I didn't have any issue with Carl. Still haven't got any issue with Carl. When I first saw it, what Carl didn't like was me saying that I think Jake Paul is good for boxing, and I don't mind him fighting the likes of Mike Tyson, and I think him bringing numbers to the sport is really good. And the my response to Carl attacking myself and Ariel attacking is a very strong word, but critiquing myself, Helwani and Nikisa Bidarian, and me saying, full disclosure, I get access to the Paul brothers when I see them. And because I'm there covering it, doing interviews for Talksport, writing columns to the Telegraph about Mike Tyson being back, etc., etc. My 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 response to Carl on that is, he's saying I'm brown nosing them and making myself look like a super clown. and I lost his poll. I became the super clown of his poll, but it doesn't affect me in any way. I mean, I'm still going to do what I do, and my view is Jake Paul is good for boxing. My response to Carl, as a result, on Saturday night on Talk Sport on my show with Adam Catterall, Fight Night, was to say, be very careful, Carl. You've been away from the sport 10 years. You're calling Jake Paul out. You said you could beat him with one hand behind your back. You can't. You wouldn't. You're not going to be able to beat him with one hand, whichever is your strongest hand, your right hand or your left hand. You're going to need both hands. You're going to need to get into camp again. You're going to risk your nose being bent and buckled. You're going to risk the beautiful grey hair you've got and showing your age. You're going to risk your distinguished look. You're going to risk your legacy itself by stepping into the ring with a 27-year-old kid who's a lot bigger than you, who might actually beat you over 8 2-minute rounds of 14-ounce gloves. And Carl wouldn't be able to walk down the street afterwards. He wouldn't be able to show his face, not for a while. Carl's made himself very relevant with the brilliant Froch on Fighting YouTube channel. I mean, I'm threatening to go on there with him. I'm going to see him at the IBA conference in Dubai at the weekend. And believe me, I'll be wagging a few fingers at him. You'll see it. Because I'm not going to hold back. I'll say, Carl, you're critiquing him, but what you're really after is a fight with him. Why? To make yourself relevant and make some money. And I'm not saying that Carl will do that, but I think he needs to be careful calling Jake Paul out. Because if Jake Paul says, all right, Carl, I'll fight you, let's do Wembley Stadium, and we'll all want to see Carl knock Jake Paul out. We'll all be there to see him knock Jake Paul out. But will he really be able to do it? 11 years away from the sport by then, not fought in 11 years. That's a quarter, a third of his, or a fifth of his lifetime he won't have been fighting. Yeah? That's a big ask. Does he beat Jake Paul if he fights him next year? What do you think? Go on, do your pick.
No idea. No idea.
Exactly. Rather than, of course he knocks him out. No idea. And you're involved in boxing. We have no idea what Carl's got left. And that's all I was saying in reply. Be careful what you wish for. Because if Jake Paul says, yeah, let's do it, Carl, Carl's going to look very silly if he doesn't say yes.
Well, I wasn't actually aware that Carl was going to be there in Dubai with you, so I'm sure someone will have the camera out when you two meet up. So
Yeah,
that'll
we'll have a chat about it. Carl might just want to do it on his Froch on Fighting. We're both out there doing a little bit of work for Evo. They're at their black tie dinner.
be.
I'm out there for crypto fight nights this weekend anyway. The cryptocurrency guys fighting each other on Friday night, and I'm lead host on that with Anthony Croller. And then I'm just going to stay out there till I'm going to head to Riyadh from there for the big one between Fury and Usyk. Look, all this stuff is fascinating. I don't really want to be mixed up in the argumentation of these things, but I felt like I wanted a right of reply to Carl from what he was saying. But listen, I really respect Carl and what he did in the sport, and I covered his entire career, and he was amazing. He was
Yeah.
amazing to be around, and I have deep respect for what he's done in the sport. But I just think he's looking for a fight with Jake Paul.
Now, one thing he said, which I wanted to ask you about, was he feels that boxing journalism as a whole is in a not in the best place right now. He thinks, we don't ask the right questions and we're worried about losing access and stuff like that. What would you say about that? And is there a fine line between, you know, massively alienating, the people you've got to interview, and what's your whole take on that? Because obviously what he does on Froch on Fighting is brilliant, and he's very honest, and he doesn't really need to have relationships, I guess. So what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, at some point, Carl has to get off his ivory throne, but go out there and see people and be involved in the milieu of boxing. He watches it from afar. He takes an extremist view on things. It's a very honest view as well, and I give him that. And it's a very hard line view on things. But the work boxing's changed since Carl was involved. Carl wasn't always a big star in boxing. I mean, I did enormous amounts of writing on Carl And he did definitely suffer after he fought Jean Pascal. ITV withdrew their, I think, 3 or 5 million watched that fight live on ITV. And then they withdrew from covering boxing. 2008 it was. It was a brilliant fight. Tyson Fury made his debut on that card, by the way, his pro debut. Um, and Carl suffered for a little bit until the Super Sixes tournament because people weren't watching him. He didn't have a Sky deal. Mick Hennessy, his promoter, didn't have a Sky deal. He had that Super Sixes tournament and did very well in it, and obviously lost in the final to Andre Ward. You know, the only fighter he truly lost to, and he got hammered that night. He couldn't do anything. I look back on it. I gave Ward the first 8 rounds against Froch. I had it 117, 111. I think he got hammered. He couldn't deal with Andre Ward. You know, we never got the Calzaghe fight, the Joe Calzaghe fight. I think that would have been an amazing fight. But Carl is one of the great modern successes of British boxing. Whatever it was, 13 world, 11, 12, 13 world title fights in a row. I was fortunate enough to be at 90% of those fights. And he was always amazing to be around. And he was fascinating. His little black book of training methods and keeping a record of all his training. Some of the stories he used to tell us, his dedication to the sport, his ability to bite down on his gum shield and go out there and just throw his hands. The amazing finish to the Jermaine Taylor fight with 14 seconds left. Only watched by 25,000 people, by the way, because it was on Premier Sports. There was no big TV deal for that at the time. But the world's changed. Bare knuckle boxing is out there now. MMA's grown enormously in the last 11 years. The whole milieu has changed. And so boxing is streamed in a different way. The way news is germinated and assimilated is very different. Social media wasn't then what it is now. So everything in the boxing world's changed. So I think what he does is very effective. And as I saw when I responded to him, he's got a very strong following that really believe in him. He's got that hard man approach stuff. I'm the tough guy. I'm going to say the tough words. There's no kind of filiberting around. There's no. I'm going to. This is my line. This is my highway. This is what I'm sticking to. And you know, he's critiqued Eddie Hearn. He's critiqued Anthony Joshua. He's critiqued me. He's critiqued others. But it doesn't mean he's abusing people. It doesn't mean he's just giving a strong view. He's not insulting people. He's not an insulting kind of guy. He's a real stand-up guy, Carl. So I'm happy to listen to his views on things, and I'm happy to argue with him.
Just want to move away from this. Let's talk about Sonny Edwards, obviously announcing his retirement after the Galal Yafai defeat on Saturday night. Galal was pretty impressive. What did you make of the fight, and also what Sonny was saying in the corner, which went viral?
Yeah, I mean, the very best Sonny Edwards I'd picked to win on points in this fight. I'd flip-flopped since the fight was announced. Originally gone for Gamal and then thought, no, look at the experience of Sonny. The corner comments from Sonny on any other fighter on any other night, you'd have said, let's see the corner pull him out. Because when a fighter says, I don't want to be here, you can't play boxing. So you'd liked his corner to have pulled him out, Jonathan. But mercifully, the fight was stopped in the 6th round. I didn't want to see him take any more punishment. That was a shell of who Sonny Edwards is. Yes, he had a little bit of success himself, but he wasn't fighting his own fight, that kind of evasive, hit and not be hit, will-o'-the-wisp, jack-in-the-box style. So I'm glad it was stopped when it was. But conventional wisdom tells you that he probably should have been pulled out earlier. It's nice to see a guy knowing it's time to call it a day. But that wasn't the Sonny Edwards we saw defend the world title, the IBF flyweight title 5 times. And maybe the realization against Bam Rodriguez 2 fights ago, or maybe 3 fights ago now, that he it just wasn't there anymore.
Mm. What about Galal against Bam? What do you think of that fight?
I think that's Bam. Bam's a big favourite in that fight, and obviously he's moving up super fly, bantam, super bantam. I think Bam is a guy that will go on and fight Noya Nui eventually at bantamweight or super bantamweight. Um, Look, one of the reasons why I picked Sonny Edwards, Jonathan, was because um, Galal's only had or had only had 8 pro fights before he went into that fight. He's got a great style. It's a terrific matchup if they do make it, but I see Bam as a big favourite.
And what's your opinion on Sonny retiring? Like you say, he doesn't seem to. He was very honest afterwards and said, "Look, it's not quite what it was." So, how will you remember Sonny Edwards?
A great champion, great skills, had an amazing purple patch. None of the great flyweights in his era could land a glove on him until Bam Rodriguez came along. Um, he's a great technician, um, and a real character in the sport as well. And I think we won't be the last we see of him in the sport as either a manager, as a trainer, maybe as a commentator. He's got a lot to give us on the sport. He gave a lot of his life to it. Probably didn't deserve all the credit he did deserve when he first won the world title, and probably could have been given a bit more prominence. But that's always the same for the little guys or the lighter guys. The other thing I'd say is that 28 is not that old to retire as a flyweight. Maybe 30, 31 is, but I'm glad he's just taken the decision now rather than hung on in there, because I loved his honesty that I haven't got it anymore. And I loved his emotion saying that, he doesn't want to miss the early life of his children or his child, and he wants to be heavily involved. And he was honest about the sacrifices that he's made, and he just can't do it anymore. And his body's breaking up. And I'd rather hear someone be honest about it, and give a full admission that they just can't do it anymore. Because as I said at the beginning, you can't play boxing.
Finally, Gareth, 2 weeks Saturday, you'll be there in Riyadh. Usyk Fury 2, we saw the trailer that Turkey Al Sheikh released yesterday. A lot of people saying that was the best one yet. It was mad, to be fair, that trailer. What did you think of that?
Well, very dark, nightmarish humour involved there, wasn't it? That it's the obsession, it's the obsessional nightmare of each other, because it's the battle of each other now. It's the championship of each other to decide if Tyson Fury can win it. He returns to the top of the heavyweight division as the number one, maybe of the era, but they might need a third fight to decide that. So, I thought it was brilliantly put together. It was a real haunting piece, but we've got used to these amazing bits of footage. I mean, I know that there's a remake of Day of Reckoning or Ring of Fire coming out, and there's another documentary being made about this reignited heavyweight title matchup between the number one and number two in the world, Fury and Usyk. Can't wait to be there. Spoke to Spencer Brown this morning, by the way, who's in camp with Tyson, his manager. Very instrumental with His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh as an advisor and general, if you like, one of his military men in the process of what's going on. Spencer said it's been like prison in camp in Malta. Tyson's really well conditioned, brilliant sparring partners, all southpaws. He looks in great shape, and he's going to have to give it all on the night. I think it's going to be another very close fight and a great week, and can't wait to be there. As I say, I go to Dubai tomorrow for a few days, and then I'll be out in Riyadh for a full week from the 14th. Cannot wait for it, Jonathan.
Early prediction? Are you going to tell us?
Fury points this time in a razor tight fight again, because Fury really needs to prove that he just fell a little short last time.
There you have it. Well, Gareth, Appreciate your time. Enjoy yourself in the Middle East. Bit of winds of sun, and we'll catch up probably later in the year because I don't think I'll see
Lovely. You're
you.
welcome. Always welcome.